And today on Story Circle, we have Beatrice with us. Welcome to the show, Beatrice.
Thank you very much.
Karibu sana Full Circle. It's a blessing to have you here.
Asante sana.
And your story is one of victory. I think I'd like to just say that. It's one of victory because you have overcome so much despite the odds that were against you, that you chose to see light instead of being like, oh, this is what the world has decided for me. I'm just going to be here and sulk about it. But you decided to be like, I'm just going to be out there and share hope and share my victory story to the world. Please take us to the beginning. You were born with vision.
I was born with vision.
Yes.
And I still have a little bit of vision.
Yes.
But I'm what we call legally blind, which means my visual acuity is below 2200. Perfect vision is 20/20.
Okay.
I only probably have about 10% of that.
Aha.
Yes.
At what age did that happen?
We discovered when I was 6 that that I'm visually impaired. But after all the testing and diagnosis, we actually found out that this was a genetic disease. So I was born with it. Yes.
Okay. And that happened here. That means you had to move from schools or shift schools and stuff like that for you to be able to get into a school that was maybe accommodative.
Yes. So, I was born here in Nairobi, and my parents did not understand at the time what the condition was. We thought it was they thought that it was something that could be corrected with glasses. And so, just like, any good parent would do, they were moving from one doctor to the other, moving me from one school to the other, trying to see which school would accommodate me. And so it was quite a journey, trying to navigate through different schools, finding out where I could best fit. As a child who was not exactly at the time totally blind or legally blind, I had some vision, but it was not very well understood until much later. Yes.
And did you get a school here that totally understood your situation?
So I started out at City Primary School, moved to Area Primary, which was right across the street.
Yeah.
I ended up finishing my KCPE at Kilimani Primary School, which was what they called an integrated program.
Yeah.
So kids with vision impairment would be served in the regular classroom. And so that is where I finally finished my KCPE before proceeding to the next integrated program, high school, which was Moi Girls, Nairobi.
Ah, great.
Yes.
And at that point, you had dreams. There are things that you wanted to do or become. As much as everything else was happening so fast and you kept moving schools, making friends, losing friends, making other friends. But what is it that Beatrice wanted to be?
So I always wanted to be a teacher, a special education teacher. One of the things that I found through all the schools, I was this tenacious and very bold kid who I found a way to ask for help.
Yes.
I found a way to advocate for myself. But I was noticing at the time that the teachers and the people around me were not very well versed to my needs, and especially not going to a segregated school like Thika School for the visually impaired.
Yeah.
That was tough navigating that, and so I wanted to always give back to people who are just like me growing up. And so I ended up going into special education. Later on, I did go to the United States, pursued my bachelor's degree in special education, and then taught for a little bit. And then I now work as a rehabilitation counselor. And my primary role is to help people with vision impairment find employment, getting their rehabilitation services together, and being independent. So that's what.
Even when they walk this journey. So it's sort of like doing everything that you hoped somebody did for you
Correct.
while growing up.
Yes.
That is what you definitely got into that space. You dreamt about it and you got into that space.
Exactly.
How is it? Has the system changed now? Are you doing it here? Are you doing it abroad?
So right now I'm visiting Kenya, and part of my visit this time around was to see what I can do. Part of it was observe, see how far we've come, and see what I can do in terms of giving back, because that's really what I felt I needed to do as a person with vision impairment. What can I do for my people? I started by writing a book to explain what the victories, challenges I've gone through.
Oh, please tell us about that.
Yes, so the book is called Finding Victory Despite the Challenge.
Yes.
I wrote it because a lot of people had a lot of questions. You know, when you first look at me, you see someone who can see, but yet I cannot see details. I cannot see colors that are similar to, you know, like navy blue and black. So confusing.
Okay.
I see best in contrast, so black and white. So I had a lot of people asking me questions, and so I decided to write a book called Finding Victory Despite the Challenge, Lessons Learned Through the Foggy Eyes. I chose that topic specifically because it matched exactly what my vision looked like. But in the book, I write about the victories, I write about the challenges along the way, but I write it from a point of encouraging and empowering people who have disabilities, parents who have children with disabilities, and people who are going through their own version of a disability, be it a challenge in their life. This book would encourage anybody. And so that is what I chose to do.
So in the book, you mentioned some of the challenges that you went through. Would you kindly just share that with us? And probably the stigma that you had to go through as a little kid who didn't understand what is happening, but I know this is me and I have to fight for what I want. I will be vocal. I'll say this even if they do not understand me, and even if they reject me or say some things to me that really shouldn't be said.
Yes. So in the book, I talk about some of the challenges I went through. I remember at some point, right after I was diagnosed at the age of 6, I would wear like this huge binocular looking like glasses, and the kids would bully and just make fun about it. But for me, it was not funny at the time.
Couldn't be.
Yeah, and you know, I talk about what that was like. I talk about how I had to advocate for self-advocacy is something that you'll see across the book. I talk about how I have learned to advocate for myself as a young child in lower primary school. I had to ask the teacher who thought I was too tall to sit at the front of the class. Thought I should sit at the back.
Because you're tall.
Yeah,
they used to
I'm
do
tall.
that.
Yes.
They used to do that. If you're tall, sit at the back.
Correct. So I had to advocate for myself. Yes, that's what the teacher thinks I should sit at the back, but I need to sit at the front so that I can see. Yes. So I talk about things like that. I talked about how I learned how to cook non-visually. By then, I'm a very good cook.
Ooh, what's your favorite meal to cook?
I make good chapati, believe me, with very little vision. Yes.
I can't make chapati. Such a disaster.
I do.
Oh my God. Okay. 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 Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I do it by listening
to
the sounds. So I know when to turn the chapati.
So you know that side is crispy nicely.
Yes.
Let's just turn it.
Yeah. I know when it's cooking, how it sounds.
Oh, okay.
And I talk about how I learned how to wash dishes immaculately by touching and listening to that screechy sound on a plate. You know, my mom was no nonsense when it came to learning how to do things clean.
Sufuria has to shine.
I was the firstborn, and I had to be responsible. I had to be role model to my sisters, and so I had to learn these things, even with a disability.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. So those are some of the victories for you as well.
Yes.
It is a beautiful story. that you're here to tell today.
Yes.
And
Thank
when
you.
we talk about your journey, we cannot ignore the fact that now you are in a space where you're able to see
Yes.
from, I have gone through that, I've had that.
Yes.
But what are we doing now when it comes to, I am here to help, especially back in your country? Do you think that we have changed? Have we taken a step in the direction of less stigma and having probably schools now that are more accommodative?
I can say we are definitely doing better than the 80s when I was in primary school.
Yeah.
But we still have a long way to go.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the things that I see and it makes me cringe and I just want to see changing is access. Accessibility in terms of technology. I've met a few people who are blind or visually impaired, and one of the things across the board is we have very little access to communication. And I know without communication, one of the things I use on my phone is software called VoiceOver on an iPhone. In the States, the government can afford to get technology for almost every person with a disability. That's still not the case here, but I hope we would be able to get there. Computers have software, speech software.
Yeah.
I use a software called JAWS,
Mm-hmm.
JAWS for Windows. That's something that I would like to see. I would like to see more accessibility when it comes to wheelchair access and people being able to access buildings. It's been a struggle for, personally, around the country. I just find too many steps in so many buildings, and I'm always wondering, what if I did not have help? How would I get around this building? So, you know, things like that are things that I would want to do, campaign for, and make changes and just to see some difference.
When it comes to, and I like that you mentioned that, how the difference of in terms of technology and help that is out there in the States compared to our country. And would you say that it made your life much more easier there compared to if you were here visually impaired? I think the answer is right, yes.
Absolutely. I remember people had to read text messages for me.
Oh,
and as you grow older, you know that's not cool.
Yes, it's not.
People receiving calls for you, but that access to the being able to use a computer non-visually. I have, during COVID time, I was working from home 100%. That's something I would not have dreamt about. So definitely I would like to see more access. There's lots of technology out there for people who are visually impaired, and I would love to see more of that. And I'll do anything I can do in my capacity, in whatever way I can make a difference. I did visit the Thika School for the Blind when I was here. I saw some things that definitely need to, I can do on a personal level or influence others, but also as a community, some of the things that I would want to campaign for. And let me mention this also.
Please.
The idea of addressing people with disability directly, I see this especially in restaurants where I'm with someone who's not visually impaired and they ask them what I want to eat.
Okay, instead of asking you directly.
Yes, I cannot see, but definitely I can express myself. So I would love to see that person-centered type of communication. That's something that I had to do a whole training about from a career point of view.
Yes.
And I would love to see us including people with disabilities a little bit more, just gaining the sensitivity about the needs of people who have disabilities and including them into society. Because when you help people with disabilities become more independent, getting people out of the streets, getting them out of the home, it increases their self-esteem. And it's just amazing to see a diverse community and society working together, you know.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. So you're here for just a visit. Are we expecting to see you come back, probably with a foundation or a school?
That's in the works.
What's the dream? What's the dream?
The dream is to see more assistive technology into the schools. That's so I'm working on that.
Okay.
Yes.
I felt like you were about to just spill the beans a little bit, and then you
Let
thought
me
for
not
a second
say
and just like, okay, I'm just
before
going to
it's
hold this.
fully
I'm gonna-
cooked.
I'm going to
But
hold on to this
some
information.
good things are in the works, so I
Okay.
might be back to talk about it.
Okay.
Sometime.
With the government or even non-government help, or is this solo?
I don't believe in fully putting the full burden on the government.
Yes.
I think we need to work as a collective. There are things I can do as a person, and I can see myself doing them. I can see I'm already involving some of my colleagues, even at work, back in the US, and even the community here. I think if each of us chip in to make a difference in the lives of people with disabilities.
Yeah.
But I think the bigger thing is the education and the knowledge. I feel like a lot of what we need is knowledge on how do we handle people with disabilities, how can we integrate people with disabilities into our society, into our day-to-day lives, and not just have them segregated.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And our time is up. But before I let you go, what would be your parting shot? What would be the one message for, people who are listening, parents who have children with disabilities, whatever kind it is? What would be your message to them?
I think the one thing that I will tell anyone with a disability watching this is let's focus on our abilities.
Yes.
More than what we rather than focusing on what we do not have. And for me, that was like the biggest thing. The moment you realize for me, I'm a great communicator.
Yes.
I love talking to people. I love working with people. You begin to see more than the impairment. You begin to see things you can do to improve your own life, to improve the lives of the people around you. For parents with children with disabilities, there are so many resources out there. We are living in an internet age where information is out there. Reach out to people out there, reach out to organizations. Don't do life by yourself. And that's part of who I am today. My parents chose not to do life on their own.
Absolutely.
And to reach out.
Thank you so much, Beatrice. How can we get the book before I let you go? And how much is it going for?
So the book is going for 1,000 shillings.
Yes.
Right now, I just got it into Kenya, so we only have the paper copies. I have a personal assistant. Her name is Anne Nganga, and we will be posting the details, her phone number, on how to reach her.
On the page, social media?
Yes. For social media, please like my page, Beatrice Waithaka, Finding Victory Despite the Challenge. That's on Facebook. You can also reach me at bwaithaka, BWAITHAKA @gmail.com for more information on how I can get you the book.
Absolutely. Thank you, Beatrice.
Yes, you're welcome.
For sharing this beautiful space and morning with us. We do not take it for granted. Asante.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay. We are going to take a very short break. We will be right back. This is Full Circle with Mukali.